Welcome back to another episode of Promiseland's Home Church. I am so glad that you've tuned in again today. We've got an exciting message for you. We're going to practice our memory verse again, but first, it's time to worship. So I need you to stand to your feet if you're able. Give me your loudest, strongest singing voice and show off your best dance moves. Let's go!
From the top of my head, way, way down to my toes, I can't keep it all inside. I wanna jump with all my might. From the top of my head, way, way down to my toes, I can't keep it all inside. I wanna dance with all my might. Everybody, everywhere, raise your hands up in the air and say, Jesus, Jesus is alive. Everybody, everywhere, raise your hands up in the air and say, Jesus, Jesus is alive. From the top of my head, way, way down to my toes, I can't keep it all inside. I wanna jump with all my might. From the top of my head, way, way down to my toes, I can't keep it all inside. I wanna dance with all my might. Everybody, everywhere, raise your hands up in the air and say, Jesus, Jesus is alive. Everybody, everywhere, raise your hands up in the air and say, Jesus, Jesus is alive. Everybody, everywhere, raise your hands up in the air and say, Jesus, Jesus is alive. Everybody, everywhere, raise your hands up in the air and say, Jesus, Jesus is alive.
My God is strong. He'll do anything big or small. Nothing is impossible for a super wonderful God. Every day I can know God is always there for me and my family. Every day I can know greater is the one who lives inside me.
it is mailbox time, and I am going to review the verse we've been working on for the month of May with you. And I know how it starts. Do you remember how it starts? We're going to make binoculars over our eyes as we say, see what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. 1 John 3 verses 1a. And we know when we say this verse, Promiseland friends, that we hold our hands like this at the end when we say 1 John chapter 3, because that is how we hold our Bibles. And this verse lives in the Bible. And we know it's true because this verse lives in the Bible. Have a great week. Hi, Promiseland friends. It is time for the Wardrobe of Wonder. Abe and I have a different What's It box today. Let's see what could be in the What's It box today. You ready, Abe? Well, that's interesting. This huge box and what's in there?
Nothing.
Nothing. It's empty. Our What's It box is empty, friends. So we have to try to figure out what item could tell us about the Big God story that has to do with the What's It box today. Let's think about it. I remember. It's too hot. The item is too hot. We gotta go over here. The item for the What's It box is way too hot. Come on, Abe. Let's go over here. See, we've got some friends over here. And
This it's hot, yeah.
it's hot. The fire is hot. Let's go see what they're doing, Abe. What are you guys doing?
Roasting marshmallows.
And the fire's really hot?
Yeah.
Oh, and I bet that feels so nice. That nice, warm, hot fire. So this fire has something very important to do with the What's It box or the Big God story today. So it's time for the Big God story, and you can find out what the fire has to do with that.
Hey, thanks for joining me here. As you can see, I'm sitting around a fire. I mean, I love a good fire. I wish you guys could be here to join me. You know, nothing better than friends around a fire. But anyway, and also, you know what's also great about a fire is a story. And boy, do I have a story for you. I mean, if you guys don't mind hearing a story, I mean, I'd love to tell it to you, and it has something to do with this fire. You know, as you can see, I have a helmet and I have a sword. I used to be a guard in an army. I used to live in a place called Babylon, and the king was King Nebuchadnezzar. Oh yeah, he was something. You know, all kings like to have everybody do what they want. I mean, the king is in control, and if you don't listen to the king, it is not good. And kings have their own ideas, and I'll never forget the time when my life changed. You know, like I said, I was a guard, and my job was to make sure people followed the king's rules. And I'll never forget, King Nebuchadnezzar had a big gold statue built. And this idol was like 90 feet long. These trees around me are tall. This idol was at least that tall. And the king thought it would be good if everybody would come together and bow down in front of this idol. And now, I want to tell you about three guys that I knew. They were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, these three guys worked for the king, and they were great guys. Everybody loved these three guys. I mean, they were really good at what they did, and I mean, they were just top-notch guys. And I'll never forget when these three guys came before this idol, along with everybody else, and all of a sudden, we heard some music. And the king had told us that when we hear music, we are to stop what we're doing and bow down. And if we didn't, we would be thrown in a furnace, a fiery hot furnace. And that's what this fire reminds me of, that day that he told us about that hot furnace that people would get thrown into. And I'll never forget when the music played and everybody began to bow down. We looked around to make sure everybody was following the rules. And guess what? Three guys were not bowing down. And you know who those three were? That's right. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They did not bow down. And I stood back. I like these guys. But I I really did feel bad for him because I knew that the king was not going to be happy. Well, the king heard about it and he came over there and he was really, really mad. And he said, "Why didn't you bow down? I'll give you one more chance. One more chance I will give you to bow down. And if not, you will go in the furnace." And the three looked at the king and they said, "We bow down to the one true God only. That is not our God, that idol. Our God can save us from whatever you do, but even if he does not save us, we still believe in him and him alone." And the king was mad. And remember, the furnace was what was going to happen to anybody who disobeyed the king. And so the king gathered these three guys up. He had the guards come. I wasn't the guard that had to grab him, thankfully, but other guards came up, grabbed him, and the king said, "Make this fire 7 times hotter." And it was so hot, let me tell you, some of the people I knew, the guards, actually burned up because the fire was so hot. Well, anyway, the three guys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, got thrown into the fire, and I thought, we'll never see them again. They're gone. And all of a sudden, the king looked up and he said, "Wait a minute. Didn't you guys throw 3 people into the furnace?" And they said, "Yeah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, just like you ordered." And the king said, "Well, why do I see 4 in there? And one of them is like glowing." And we all just looked and we couldn't believe it. There were 4 people in that fire. And guess what? Nobody was burning up. And the king couldn't believe it. Nobody could believe it. And the king said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, come out." And, you know, the 4th person in there, we knew that God, it was their God that was in the fire with them. He was beside them, protecting them, and helping them out during this time. And the king, Nebuchadnezzar, the king was so moved and so happy to see them alive, but he was so amazed that they didn't get burned up that he thought, your God must be the one true God, because the idol can't do that. The idol can't save someone from a fire, but the one true God can, and he did. And ever since then, the king decided that we will bow down to your God, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because he is the true God. And, you know, that taught me some lessons that day. It taught me that we have that one true God, that if we believe in him, he can save us. And it also just tells me that, you know what? It's important to stand up for what you know is right. And these guys knew what was right, and they stood up for it. It might have turned out where they maybe got burned, but you know what? God saved them. And ever since then, when I see a fire, I think about that. I think about those 3 guys, those friends of mine, who stood up to the king. So next time you're around a fire and want to tell that story to somebody, or maybe just think about what it would have been like, I think that'd be good. Thanks for joining me for this story. I love telling it.
Wow, friends, our God is mighty, and he loves us. He loves me, and he loves you. He is God, and we can worship him with all of our hearts and all of our minds. Our whole life we can use to worship God. Our God is also holy. That means that there is no one at all like him. He is our King. And when we kneel or bow down to worship him, it's a way of telling him that we know that he's bigger than us. And we know that he's God, and that we get to be his children. There is no one greater than our God. Friends, may you remember that God is with you always, and he protects you, even in things that you can't see. Thanks for joining us again this week. Hope to see you again next time. Bye.